Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing Dumper and Dumpee, Rebound Experience. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing Dumper and Dumpee, Rebound Experience. So if you've gone through a breakup, you may have heard of rebound relationships. But what exactly are they? And are you going through one? In today's podcast, I'll be answering 3 questions from the different perspectives of a rebound relationship. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is, am I a rebound? So if you have been dumped, you may be wondering whether you're a rebound yourself. In this situation, I suggest you consider some of the typical rebound relationship red flags to consider this possibility. Let me know in the YouTube comments if you believe you might actually be a rebound within a rebound relationship. So let me know, was your ex in a different relationship with somebody else within the last year before you and your ex connected? When you and your ex got together, did it get serious very quickly and hit notable relationship milestones much sooner than you expected? Did your relationship end suddenly and unexpectedly? So if you answered yes to these questions, then you quite possibly are a rebound for your ex. But what does this mean? Well, if you want to try to get your ex back and you have now come to the conclusion that you were likely their rebound, well, it's not impossible, but I need to be honest and say it is very challenging. And this is because when somebody is in a rebound relationship, when you become their rebound, this suggests that you and your now former partner didn't really get to know each other before the relationship really took off. So if I can explain it in a different way, whereas most relationships consist of 2 people getting to know each other first and then getting into a serious long-term relationship, you and your now former partner got together and almost got to know each other within the relationship. You almost got to know each other on the job. You almost got to know each other after the point that you really should have done. As you can see, if you get to know somebody whilst you're in that relationship, there is a strong possibility that you will unfortunately decide that you're not right for one another. And this is why a rebound relationship can end so quickly and so suddenly. Now you might think you and your ex were a great couple and you worked together really, really well, but unfortunately you've been dumped. And if you were in a rebound relationship, we have to consider that your now former partner, your dumper, decided that you two were not a good match. And therefore, if you was in a rebound and they decided that you were not a good match, it suggests that you potentially weren't a good connection in the first place in their perspective. Whereas in a regular relationship, we could say, you would likely have got to know each other first, moved into a long-term loving relationship as this progressed naturally, you would have had something that was built on stronger foundations. Were you not doing it this way, you automatically got into this relationship, it felt, and then everything went 100 miles an hour as you started to get to know each other. Unfortunately, if one of you or both of you feel that this relationship is not working, then this relationship was not actually built on the stronger foundations that it should have been. Unfortunately, it was built on something a lot less stable. And therefore, if they come to a conclusion that this relationship is not working for them, there is less chance of them in the future wanting to re-look at and re-examine this connection because they don't have the same feelings that 2 people who got to know each other first would have had. Because their first actual realisation of what you two meant to each other as a couple, unfortunately, in their opinion, was it wasn't working. It wasn't built on anything previously, so in their mind, there is very little there. Now, this isn't to say that you can't get somebody back who treated you as a rebound. It's not impossible. I know of instances where somebody has been dumped, they've realised they were the rebound of their now ex, and they did reconnect in the future. But I must be honest and say from my experience and research that your chance of success is less in comparison to if you had been in a more regular relationship. So it's not impossible, but it is more challenging. I would say it's along the lines of when two people are in a long distance relationship. I believe when a long distance relationship breaks up, it's not impossible to get that person back into your life, but it is tougher. And I would say the same goes, but for very different reasons, for people within rebounds. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about Dumpee and Dumpee rebound experience. And point number 2 is Dumpee experience through a rebound relationship. So now we're going to focus on the perspective of two people who was in a quote-unquote regular relationship. Unfortunately, it has ended, and the person who ended the relationship, the dumper, has now potentially got into a rebound. And we're going to look at their journey. So if you're a dumpee listening to this might be particularly of interest for you if you want to reconnect with your ex, because your ex, the dumper, may potentially get into a rebound post-breakup from your connection. So, when somebody enters a relationship, they have decided that they want to go on their own path. They want to take things in a different direction. They want to go on their own journey. Now, they may or may not have decided right now that they want to jump into dating. Whether or not that's the plan, sometimes this can happen. And if you're listening to this as a dumpee, you probably are thinking, well, I don't want to hear this. But listen on. This is not necessarily bad news for you. I would suggest that, although it might sound almost a bizarre comment to make, if your ex-dumper dates somebody new, you might actually have a better chance of reconnecting with them sooner than if they don't date anybody else. And the reason for this is because if your ex-dumper dates somebody within a year or so of your breakup, I would say that is a rebound relationship red flag. And if this does end up constituting as a rebound relationship, the likelihood is it will end as quickly as it started. It will end within a matter of weeks or months. Just as it seemed to appear out of nowhere, it will likely explode and disintegrate very, very quickly. Now, why is this? Well, it goes back to point number 1 when I was talking about two people within a rebound relationship are not getting to know each other first. They're getting to know each other on the job. They're getting to know each other during this new relationship. And the likelihood of meeting a long-term compatible partner so soon after your last previous long-term relationship is very, very slim. It's very, very difficult to find somebody compatible in the long term. And if you and your now ex were in a long-term relationship, it is unlikely that either of you will find a new long-term potential connection within the next year or so. I would say if you were to, you would certainly be in the minority. And therefore, if you do connect, this goes to you as well, dumpees, if you connect with somebody within the next few weeks or months, it's unlikely to be a connection which lasts the test of time. So if you're a dumpee and you're listening to this and you want your ex back, this is why when you may hear that your ex-dumper is dating somebody, try not to freak out about it, because the likelihood is it's not going to last very long. And even if you are unfortunately in that minority situation where it does last a bit longer, well, there's nothing you could do from this position. You can't affect this. You can only control the controllables. You need to focus on your life as a dumpee, moving forward, improving every day, and making your own connections to hopefully get to a stage where you can find a long-term compatible partner sooner than your ex-dumper does. And I would say if you put in the work, this could happen, but it's not going to be quickly. Like I said, it's very, very hard to find a relationship of substance very soon. What's actually more likely is that your ex-dumper, if they were to date somebody new, they would find out that they are not compatible and they would feel disheartened. And this is why, as a dumpee, if you find out your ex is dating somebody new, it can potentially bring them back to you quicker. Because if they feel disheartened, if they feel that they are not finding anybody that connects with them like you did, this is when they're likely to regret their decision potentially much sooner than they may have done. So if you find out your dumper is dating fairly soon after your breakup, I would say there is a huge chance that all of these new connections are going to fail and fail quite quickly, and then they are likely to reflect on your connection and potentially reach out to you. Now, whether or not you want to date your ex again if you find out they've been dating other people, that's up to you. But I would suggest that you must forgive and move forward. If you want to get your ex back, you've got to respect that during the interim time you were apart, they are single and you are single. You both have to respect each other's journeys. I would suggest, though, that if your ex-Dumpee dates anybody in the weeks, months, maybe even up to a year after your breakup, they are very unlikely to be with them for much longer. So if you want them back, this is something that you may want to hold on to, but don't use that as a reason to clock watch and to sit around doing nothing. You must live your life. You must do your thing. And even though it's unlikely that you will also find somebody new so quickly, you must make new connections, because sitting around is not the way forward. The reason why it takes so long is not because people have some type of mystical situation surrounding a year. No, the reason why I suggest a year is because that is how long it normally takes to make a few different connections, go on a few different dates, meet a few different people, and you will therefore eventually find somebody who is right for you. Sitting around doing nothing is just prolonging this even longer. So, live your life to the full, let your ex live their life, and the likelihood is that if they get into a rebound relationship, it might seem like it's going very quickly, but ultimately, it's likely to end even faster. Now, if you would like support going through breakup recovery, if you want advice on how to try and increase the chance of getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about Dumpee and Dumpee rebound experience. And point number 3 is how to stop becoming a rebounder. So if you don't want to be involved in rebound relationships, whether that is you don't want to be pursuing them without realising, or you don't want to be on the end of them without realising, one of the main facts that you need to hold to your heart and remember is that you shouldn't be rushing connections. Now, if somebody wants to have a casual relationship and they feel like they want to rush certain intimacy levels, that is up to 2 consenting adults. Again, I wouldn't suggest you rush this type of thing, but if you know it's going to be casual, that is a different situation to 2 people getting together and within a few weeks they're getting engaged and saying we're going to get married soon or moving in together, because these situations can get very, very complex. If you move in with one another, if you get married, if you spend lots of money on holidays and vacations, there can be a lot of things to unpick if things go wrong. Now, like I said, I wouldn't suggest rushing a casual connection either, but what I'm trying to get across here is if you both agree it's going to be casual, if you're 2 consenting adults, then at least there's going to be less to unpick if and when you decide you want to go your separate ways, because you're not investing in one another in a long-term serious relationship. If 2 people get together and they don't feel it's long-term, they don't feel it's serious, I would suggest that's a casual fling. In my opinion, that is not what I would call a rebound relationship. I believe a rebound relationship is something which both people at the time are saying is serious, is real, is long-term, is likely to last forever. If those 2 people are both saying that, that is when it could be a rebound. If somebody is dating other people soon after their breakup, but they have no intention of getting in deep, serious and long-term, I would say that's a fling rather than a rebound relationship. That's my own explanation of how I see the differences. So if you want to stop becoming a rebounder, you need to be making sure that you're not rushing things. I wouldn't suggest you rush anything casual either, but certainly if you're thinking about taking things serious, don't rush things. You've got to get the balance right. There needs to be a good amount of dates before you take things to the next level, and so on and so on. I don't believe you should be thinking about getting engaged within the first year of you being together. I don't believe you should be thinking about living with one another within at least 9 months to a year either, at the very minimum. Now, this isn't me telling you to hold back, but unfortunately sometimes people can get dumped for not moving a relationship forward at the correct pace. But the correct pace is the key. If you rush things, you risk getting into a rebound. You risk trying to live the positive elements of your past relationship within a new connection. That is why rebounders do it. Subconsciously, they miss certain elements from a past relationship. Even if they were the dumper, not everything was terrible, not everything was bad. They miss certain things and they want it again, and they try to rush a new relationship through to get to that same pace. I would suggest making sure you check upon the speed and the pace that you move a relationship forward. It can't be too slow, else you may get dumped, but it certainly can't be too fast, especially if you're not long out of a previous relationship. You need to be careful with sharing too much, making sure you get to know each other at a fair, steady and competent pace. Rushing things doesn't mean it's going to last forever. Rushing things doesn't mean you're going to lock happiness down. Rushing things probably means you're just going to have a lot more to unpick if and when it goes wrong. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.